Welcome, Kula. All right, Kula Conversations. Create your course already. Let's get started. Okay, so if you got an email from me earlier, you know that I wrote you an epistle on expansion. And briefly, I just made the case of wherever you are in your business journey as likely a service provider of some kind. And yes, if you're in this group, you're probably a unicorn. You do lots and lots of things, right? And you're unique in the sense that you have a very specialized skill set. But that's even a better reason why now is the best time to create your course. So I want to talk a little bit about how to be kind of flexible with this, and I also want to talk a little bit about like what I'm not suggesting you have to do. So let's start at the beginning. This does not mean you have to be like internet famous, follow all the sort of gurus' advice, and get the huge, expensive, clunky membership site, invest tons and tons of money in a sales page, and launch this huge thing on all of the social medias, asking all of your friends and business colleagues to be an affiliate, right? That's one way to do it, and that's an excellent business model. Maybe it's not the business model that works for you, though. It certainly is not the business model that works for me right now. There was a time in my career when that was really attractive to me, and I was building this like very flexible kind of, I wasn't necessarily in my business anymore because I had created all the content, and then I just kind of like put it in that container. So what it looked like in practice for me, even though I had a team, that business model looked a lot like I was managing a tech company in essence, right? And that wasn't what I wanted. And now there are a lot of different platforms now than there were even like 6-8 years ago when I first started launching digital courses and first sort of created the Wisdom Method Virtual Studio. So there are a lot of ways that you can go about creating a course that don't have to be, like, oh gosh, I want to be the next Marie Forleo or wherever. Okay? And there are a lot of other folks talking about how to do that. But I want to bring my special little flavor and give you some options that maybe you haven't thought about. So the first thing that I want to say is like, okay, you don't necessarily need to be hugely internet famous to have this like massive business with a bunch of moving parts and pieces, clunky membership site that you invest a ton of money into, and then launch and crickets, right? Because that's also a thing that happens. And the reason that happens are many, right? The reasons are legion. But a lot of times what happens when you sort of go whole hog down the rabbit hole, and mixing my metaphors there tremendously, but bear with me, you kind of throw all of your everything into this course and don't think about what's the point, what's in it for the client. So that's what I want to say, and that's actually the place to start if you're going to look at crafting a course. Is where do you begin? You actually start with that particular person that's going to take the course, right? What do they need? What's the one problem or the one result that you can guarantee that they're going to get at the end of this experience, whatever it is? And so that's kind of the second piece, is how to structure it. You structure it with the end in mind, right? So you can't deliver a massive transformation in a 1-hour workshop. It's true. You can get someone a little bit closer to that transformation. You can open their eyes to some tools that they didn't realize were available, right? So structure, you have to think about structure and format also, right? And then the other thing that I want to say is why you want to do it now. And I'm going to spend the most time on this, right? Because I want to give you some examples, and we'll cycle back through these kind of bullet points if you're watching along and thinking about your business or your particular skill set, how you can use this in your life. You'll be able to apply it and get some real-time examples. So the reason you want to do it now is so much of what I already said. Access has increased. People are much more used to getting expert level advice and teachings from the internet now, right? There used to be kind of this layer of, ooh, well, I don't really know what's behind that, right? And of course, there's a lot of folks out there pitching themselves as experts, and really all they are is people with big advertising budgets that have tons of social media followers, right? But there is a rise right now, a content rise, and so you're gonna see this in like marketing trends over the next year, possibly even longer, I'm guessing even longer, that it's less about your social following. Obviously, platform is always important, but it's less about your social following than it is about your content value. And your content value is going to be always informed by your experience and your skills. So what that means is the market is beginning to reward people that have spent a tremendous amount of time cultivating their skills and really becoming the best in their industry, or taking the time to really sharpen the saw, right? To keep your skills sharp. So that's one of the reasons why, especially if you're in this group, you probably have a tremendous skill set that you've worked maybe a very long time, your entire life, to build. You're creative, you're an artist, you're soulful, you're purpose-driven, all of these things, right? And if you felt overwhelmed by the sort of digital course revolution or digital revolution in and of itself, there really are a lot of ways to dip your toe in the water and start to get some real results quickly. All right, so that's kind of like back to that bullet point. We're going to start at like really specific examples of where do you begin. So you're like, okay, I've got this skill set. Maybe I'm not maxed out on one-to-ones yet, but I want to get my message out there because there are a lot of folks that need what I have to say, that need what I'm sharing, and they need to hear this and apply it in their life, right? And so how do you do that in a way that's aligned with your values? So I want to give you some tips and things to consider, right? Where you begin, we're back to that first bullet point, is what problem can you solve for a particular client right now? Your work solves a lot of problems, right? But what can you really dial down and focus in on and say, I'm going to condense this into one little tiny package and deliver it through this course or series, right? And so that's the first place, is can you focus on one little problem that this solves? So Kula Conversations, for example, is in essence, it's a course because each of these teachings are like little mini lessons. And the reason I wanted to do that was because a lot of folks, there's a lot of content out there on the internet. There's a lot of folks sort of teaching business and marketing and all of that. I didn't want to add to the conversation in a way that it didn't feel aligned with me, right? And the thing that I like to do the most is share information through teaching. So these Kula Conversations started as like these little mini workshops that I could deliver to my community, where they would get some massive value, where they would have some support and accountability for taking some action in their business, but it wasn't like this huge investment. It wasn't a clunky course. It didn't have specific start or top. It was just this, hey, kind of like office hours, right? So sort of like business office hours, but one step up, because I wanted each of these conversations to be like a workshop, right? In the sense that you would come, you would learn, you would have questions. So where I began with that was the end. I wanted to know that every time someone showed up for this or watched the recording after, that they would be able to take one piece of this little, workshop and implement it in their business that week to get some feedback, excuse me, and to start to see some traction if they hadn't already, right? So that's something that you can think of in your course. So say you want to do a course, and I'm using digital course, but at the end of this, I'm going to give you some other examples. And so if you're like, I don't want to go down the internet rabbit hole, right? But chances are you have a website, super easy, excuse me, to host your course information on your own website using lots of other free tech tools. So there are ways to get this information out there. Likewise, like an email list, so you can do an email course. I've done several little things through my business that were like mini trainings, but they were all delivered through email. So they just came to people's email inbox. It got people used to, opening emails from me. They got used to knowing that when they saw an email from me, it was going to have a load of value, right? So there are some ways that you can deliver that. Example. So I started at where to begin with my Kula Conversations was really at the end, the client outcome. I wanted people to be able to have support in their business every week, to take some steps forward, take some action in their business that week and really start to see some massive results. Okay, so say you're a one-on-one service provider like me as a business coach, but say maybe you're a wellness coach and you're doing, you have sort of a package structure. So like a 3-month package, a 6-month package, maybe you have a day-long package, right? What about creating a little course? It could be self-paced, self-guided, on demand, that allowed people to initiate wellness rituals in their home, right? Something that you're probably going to do with them in your one-on-one work together, but this gives them a little taste of what it's like to work with you in a deeper experience, and it also opens the doorways of your business so that people can get a sense of what you're about, right? Often people are not ready to lay down big money to work with us the first time they meet us or find us on the internet or catch your website on social media, right? So allowing something to be by way of introduction, here is this something that gives them a starting point. And the idea with this course that you're creating is that it could be evergreen, meaning it could just be something that's always available, or it could be something that you do in a series. So that's kind of the next bullet point, and I'll give you another example. How to structure for maximum results. What you want to do is think about what can you reasonably promise at the end of this course, right? And then what can you guarantee that they're going to get? So I'll use another example from my yoga therapy days, etc., which I'm still doing. I just started teaching a restorative yoga class again. And it's taught as a series, it's a course, because what I really wanted to do was teach people 5 different meditation techniques, one for each of the elements. And those elements, the whole point of the series is to give people tools to relax, shapes also that they can be in, but tools that they can use at any point throughout their day. And what that looks like is a mindfulness and a breathing technique. So every class, they get a different mindfulness and breathing technique. Not everyone's going to take the class. Not everyone's going to book yoga therapy with me. Not everyone's going to take my yoga teacher trainings, but enough people can benefit from this series class that I feel like I'm getting my workout in a way that's aligned, right? And I may consider doing that as an on-demand course, right? Right now it's in person. So think of that too. Think about creative ways that you can bring your work forward. And then why do you want to do it now? All right, so I'll give you another example. Why do you want to do it now? Well, if you're a service provider, chances are you're going to, if you haven't already, reach your max capacity in your business. In other words, you're going to run out of hours in your day. You're going to run out of energy to be able to provide your valuable services. So when you think about why now? Well, even if you're not full in your business, the examples I already gave before should be giving you a hint as to why now is a really good time to do that, right? People want expert education. They want people who know their stuff, who have the training, who have the credentials to back up their advice, right? And when you are not busy in your business, yet when you're not full, that's when you have the most time to thoughtfully consider how you actually want to expand. In other words, you want to focus the trajectory of your growth. So I'm going to liken this to like planting a garden, right? So you can go out in the middle of, spring or summer and just cast a bunch of seeds and you're going to get a lot of growth, right? It's going to look pretty, especially if you're doing wildflower seeds. It's going to be really pretty and wonderful, but at the end of that season, it's going to be gone, right? And so when you are in particular phases in your business, you're going to go through periods of massive growth. but that growth won't always be sustainable. So if you can, wherever you are at your business and your trajectory, think about what's the next level for me? What's the next place I want to get to? And how do I want to show up when I get there, right? So if you build this massive business that doesn't fit your energy or your lifestyle needs, when you get to your financial goals or you get to your quote unquote definition of success, you won't like where you end up, right? So thinking about why you want to do this now allows you the flexibility to think of, how do I actually want to deliver courses? How do I actually want to, say, clone myself in essence, right? And so now we're going to get into the fun examples. Okay, so maybe it's not a series course on a membership site. Wonderful. I love creativity. You do not have to be internet famous to fill a course right now. When I was just starting out as a no-name yoga studio in a small town where people still called me and asked what type of yogurt I served, I managed to take a slot in my studio hour studio schedule that wasn't making any money for me. It was dead space. I couldn't get a massage therapist in there. I couldn't outsource it. I couldn't fill a class. And I turned that into an extra $13,000 in my business over the year with one series class that I offered seasonally. So it doesn't have to be massive, but that's wherever you are. If you're like, oh, well, I could use another $13,000 in my life this year, consider a course, right? And I'll show you how I did that in the next thing that I'm going to talk about after I give you some examples. Okay, so your targeted solution for your particular person that has a problem is going to deliver a specific result, right? And so you want to think of this in a container of something fun, right? If a digital course doesn't sound like you, or a series class is not your forte, or you just don't have enough time to do anything else and you don't want super complicated things, what about a mini book or an on-demand guide? A curated course, something that you only offer every once in a while and only when there's interest. So it's up on your website, maybe there's a sign-up sheet and a wait list. When you have capacity, you open it up, right? You talk about it a little bit, but it's not like a super stressful thing. Maybe it's a private podcast. Maybe you're ready to do something like a signature course, or a signature talk rather, that then turns into a course that people find you from the talk. Maybe you're ready to create a protocol for a specific healing type of modality, right? That can be tested in a research way or replicated, or you want to train people to be able to deliver that protocol. So think about this mindful expansion of sharing your course, moving beyond one-to-one. I'm saying course, but that's really shortcut for moving beyond a one-to-one model. Not that one-to-ones aren't wonderful. You're always gonna want to, at least for me, maybe not you, but I'm always gonna want to have that connection to folks in a one-to-one way. For a while, I stepped away from one-to-one work, and if you don't know why, I'll be talking about that in a little while, and talking about that more, and you'll kind of see and hear a little more about my journey over the last several years, what I've been doing with that time, how I've restructured my business, and why. And so that's my epistle on expansion. And if you're interested in doing something kind of like this, but more focused, next month, April, I'm going to be doing little mini workshops like this, but you have to pre-register for them, and we're only going to be doing once a month. I'm only going to be doing once a month, and it will be more like a workshop type situation, okay? And then Kula Conversations are turning into conversations, and so starting next month, once a month. So that's what I've decided right now. I'll start doing little interviews like this, and it's fun right now and I want it to be valuable for your business. So let me know who you want to hear from, the topics that you want to hear about. I have a list of folks for April, but I'm willing to shift the schedule and I will announce that pretty soon. So check your email, stay in touch here via the group. Oh, okay. And the last thing that I was going to say before I sign off, that mini workshop, I'm going to start doing them once a month. It is part of my longer mentorship, Third Jewel Society. Third Jewel Society is right now, it is a curated 6-month mentorship to craft your big thing. Maybe that's your course. Maybe that's a signature talk. Maybe you want to write a book like me. But the workshops that I'm doing for Third Jewel, so if you're interested in that, DM me because I'm not talking about it just yet, are specifically focused on curated projects. So you're going to go behind the scenes with our experts. You're going to see actual things from their business, from my business, from the folks that I'm bringing to talk to our community about publishing, self-publishing, getting your signature talk on the stage, sharing your corporate wellness programs. So all of these things, PR, marketing, obviously, online course creation versus delivering in more like the standard model, university or teacher trainings. And then definitely a lot of stuff on mindful expansion. So keeping your energy needs at the center of your business and making sure that your business model, the vehicle that you choose, is the way you like to fly, right? So some of us really want that flexible, freedom-based business. Some of us really love the regularity and the structure of showing up for private sessions or client work or group courses, right? So you have to figure out what really works for you. And that's what we're doing in Third Jewel. One project, the project's individual, but we're doing it all in a container of community. So DIY, doing it yourself, is so last year. Doing it together is where it's at. So if you're interested in that, if you do have a big project on the books this year, if you want some support on that one-on-one or in a group, DM me for some details and I will get you all set up with that. Okay, I think that is my epistle on expansion. I will send you some details about the workshop for next month, and we're going to be talking all about creating your soulful course. So, yeah, I kept it right at 25 minutes, Kula. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you around the interwebs. Ciao!